Hello everyone and welcome back to the FM Scout YouTube channel and the third part of this experiment where we take a look at what would happen if you swap the TV deals of the Premier League with the Scottish Premiership. Now so far we've gone about 5 years into the future. We've seen the effects on the money being spent by the different clubs and how they've been performing in their domestic leagues, but we've not really seen the impact in the Champions League yet of this money, although the Scottish teams have gone up the rankings a little bit. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to go 5 more years ahead today and see where the clubs are. Now my name is Jen Caldo and you're welcome to check out my channel as well. There's a link down in the description, or you click the little I button at the top right of your screen. I do a daily European Journeyman series and about 3 Football Manager experiment videos every week, so subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this experiment. Now when we left off last time, you can see Manchester United still the champions of England, Newcastle up to 8th place, my team, but not a lot of surprises in the league table. But on the transfers side of things, you can see the big clubs still spending a lot of money, but other English teams really down there, and a lot of this league now dominated by Scottish clubs like Aberdeen spending £43 million on Reece Oxford. So some big transfers going on in the Premier League. And over in Scotland, if we have a look at the Ladbrokes Premiership, and take a look at the stages and the league table, you can see Celtic still dominating, Rangers up to 2nd, Partick Thistle up to 3rd place, Hearts in 4th, but it's more interesting what they're doing in the transfers at the moment. You can see obviously Reece Oxford up there, but Celtic spending a lot of money, huge sums of cash being spent by Scottish teams who aren't used to spending that much money, and it means that overall the Ladbrokes Premiership now up to 8th place and been down in 15th, 17th, 21st, 27th, now up to 8th place, which means they get more and more opportunities to do well in Europe, get even further up those rankings and become better and better. So let's go forward 5 years now. We'll take a look at where the Premier League teams are, where the Scottish teams are, and how they've been doing in Europe. Well, we are 5 years in the future now, and just going to have a quick run through the Premier League table. Last time we saw that Manchester United won the league. They then retained it the following year on goal difference from Arsenal. A low points total there to win the Premier League. No major surprises in the rest of that league. Again, United win the title, clear of Chelsea by quite some way. Nobody's going to break into this top 6 because the big Premier League teams are still getting their individual sponsorship money. It's just the TV money that's affected. So some of the other Premier League teams are going to fall further and further away. The year after, again, United winning the title by 101 points. A huge gap there. Again, no other surprises though. The following year, Manchester City do win the title. United still finished with 96 points, but City managed to get 100 and steal the title from them. West Ham finishing up in 4th place, doing very, very well. And then the year after that, United again winning the title, 3 points clear of Manchester City. A real battle between the two financial superpowers of the Premier League. And then no action yet this season. So Manchester United dominating the Premier League right now. If we have a look at the transfer screen and drop back to the 21-22 season, you can see Manchester City spent £114 million on Guedes, while United spent £93 million on Verratti. They are trying their best to compete at the highest level. West Ham spending £87 million on Moise Kean. The amount of money being spent is absolutely phenomenal, but it's all on high-end transfers. The following year, again, huge sums spent by Man City. Manchester United spending over £100 million on just 2 players, but West Ham really punching their weight. And you can see Hearts raiding players from certain teams as well. The following year, £107 million spent by West Ham. They have got so much money now. Their stadium and their sponsorship deals working absolute wonders for them. That's a huge transfer fee for West Ham to spend. Manchester United up there spending £99 million on a player from Atletico Madrid. Arsenal spending a bit of cash as well. And then £94 million. PSG signing Moise Kean from West Ham for £94 million. That money reinvested in Nick Cooper from Newcastle. But it's the same team spending the money in the Premier League. The Scottish teams all in there as well. So where the other Premier League teams used to be, the Scottish teams are now taking over. Now, last time we left off, Celtic had won the title again and they retained it the following year, well clear of Rangers. This league looking very familiar, but then Rangers dropping down to 4th, Partick Thistle actually finishing 2nd, and we're only 2 points off beating Celtic to the title. The following year, again, just 1 point in it. Partick Thistle, how close can you get? They are definitely usurping Rangers as the second club in Scotland. And then the year after Rangers did win the title, Celtic down in 4th place. Who would have predicted that at the start of this experiment? But they have managed to match Celtic financially, and now Hearts 2nd, Partick Thistle 3rd, and then Hearts won the title as well. So Celtic now 2 seasons without a title. Partick Thistle down in 5th, Rangers down in 6th. It's become very competitive, this Scottish League. And if we look at the transfer screen and the amount of money that they've been spending, you can see Hearts up there with huge transfer fees, which has helped them deliver that title. Partick Thistle up there as well. Celtic actually not at the top end of the group here. The following year, Celtic did spend a bit more money, but Dundee spending nearly £50 million on a player. Partick Thistle putting out a huge amount of cash again. The following year, Hearts spending £64 million on a player. Huge sums of money just being absolutely chucked out there. Again, Hearts spending the cash. They look like the team that want this more than anybody else. Celtic trying to come back, but maybe they've already done their damage here. They've just not spent the money they should be spending, given the amount of cash in there. The Ladbrokes Premiership now up to 7th, so still not over the Portuguese league or up by the French Ligue 1, but they are starting to gain some ground on the other competitions, which will get them more European places. You can see 4 teams now qualifying for Europe in Scotland, 2 for the Champions League, 2 for the Europa League. There might be more for the cup competitions, I'm not sure. So we can actually maybe have a look at the stages screen for last season. No, it doesn't show you the European qualification places. But let's have a look at the European competitions and see how they've been getting on. So if we start with the Europa League last 16, there are no Scottish teams in there, but 4 English teams managed to make it through. In the quarterfinals, the English teams not doing that well, 2 of them in there, but both of them making the semi-final. And it was actually an all-English final between Chelsea and West Ham, which Chelsea did manage to win. It was at Wembley as well, which is quite funny. Again, the last 16, the following year, no Scottish teams again in the last 16 is really disappointing. Oh, actually, Celtic made it in, but were beaten by Dortmund. In the quarterfinal stage, a lot of German teams, but it was West Ham who managed to go through for the English sides. And in the semi-finals, West Ham were playing Fiorentina. They beat Roma, so it's West Ham in the final for the 2nd year, and they do manage to win it. Winning the Europa League, that money they're spending really starting to come through for them. The following year, Partick Thistle in the last 16, beaten by Inter Milan 3-2 on aggregate. At the quarterfinal stage, Inter, Napoli, Milan and Villarreal there. Semi-final, Napoli and Milan won in the end by Napoli, which is a bit of a surprise. I would have expected AC Milan to win that. The next year, you can see West Ham in there beating Celtic. Hearts were in there as well. Hearts actually got through, beating Lyon. So in the quarterfinals, we did have a Scottish team, and Hearts actually made it through against Roma on away goals. They're in the semi-finals. And at the semi-final stage, they were beaten by West Ham 7-2. Heartbreak for Hearts. West Ham and AC Milan. West Ham winning it for the 2nd time. The following year, you can see 2 Scottish teams in there, Hearts and Celtic, both going out though. At the quarterfinal stage, the English teams dominating, 3 of them in there. Semi-finals, Arsenal and Valencia making it through. And in the final, Arsenal the winners. So Scottish teams making some slow progress in the Europa League, but not quite as much as you might have hoped, given the amount of cash that they've spent at this point. Now in the Champions League, I am only going to look at the teams that managed to qualify, so if they aren't through, they aren't through. Now in the first season from when we left off last time, in the quarterfinal stage, there were no Scottish teams in the last 16, but 3 English teams making the semi-finals, where both Liverpool and Manchester United got through, and in the final, Manchester United managed to beat Liverpool. No more European romantic glory for Liverpool there. The following year, again, no Scottish teams in there, but the English teams really not being affected by the lack of TV money. 3 of them into the semis for the 2nd year in a row. Chelsea to the final, beating PSG, so another English winner of the Champions League. The following year, Celtic made it to the knockout stages, beaten by Man City 5-0. The golfing class really showing there. In the quarterfinals, the English teams again going through. West Ham into the semi-finals of the Champions League, but beaten on penalties by PSG, missing out on the final, which was won by PSG. So really unfortunate for West Ham. The following year, no Scottish teams. Once again, the English team still holding their own though. And in the quarterfinals, Manchester United managed to go through to the semis, beaten by Bayern, eventually won by Bayern as well. So Bayern doing very well. And then in the season just gone, Rangers made the knockout stages. How much would Rangers fans love to see that happen again? But crushed 7-1 by Manchester United. In the quarterfinals, 4 English teams in the quarterfinals, 3 of them making the semis. Man United and Chelsea in the final, and Manchester United did win it. So this switching of the TV money has worked quite well for Scotland. Seems to have had no impact on the Premier League whatsoever. The English teams dominating Europe. If we look at the past winners of the Champions League, they're all English. There's only Bayern and PSG in there. Juventus the first season as well. But they're all English. They are still dominating in Europe. Despite having about £2 billion less a year in the league, they are still absolutely dominating. So it's going to be tough. I don't know if the Scottish teams will ever be able to break the English stranglehold on the top tier of European football, but maybe they've started to progress a little bit. If they could start to build up their reputation, they're currently 7th, I think. If they can build up into the top 2 or 3 leagues, there is a chance that they will be able to attract the best players, really spend the cash and really compete with English teams, but that could be a long way off. Now I think that's going to be it for this part of this experiment. Drop a like on the video if you want to see another part of this experiment, maybe another 5 years into the future. And of course, remember to subscribe to my channel as well. If you love these experiments, there's a load more like this on my channel for you to take a look at. And finally, remember to check out the FM Scout website. If you need your tactics, your kits, your add-ons, your guides, anything like that, you can find them all on fmscout.com. But that's going to be it for this episode of this experiment. As I said before, drop a like on the video. It lets us know that you like this kind of content and want to see more of it. But until next time, see ya!